Hey, I'm Trish MacEnulty, and this is Workshop Wednesday. I'm doing this because I'm a writer, and I thought when this isolation happened, I thought, oh, this is great. I'll get all this writing done, and I'll have a book finished by June. Well, that's not happening right now, and I don't know exactly what it is, but instead of feeling energized and excited, I've sort of become beset with ennui, and the days are sort of languorous instead of full of productivity. And so I've written a few novels and short stories and a memoir. I've also written, well, I self published this book. It's called A Heart Cracked Open Writing and Recovery. It is available on the Evil Empire Amazon. Um, it is about it's about writing and how it helps us deal with recovery. It helps us deal with stress. It helps us deal with grief and loss, and it's got lots of prompts and that sort of thing. The kind of things that I used in my workshops. So one of the workshops that I developed over the last couple of years is called the Heart to Heart Writing Workshop, and I developed it because I had so many students who were just devastated by depression and anxiety. And I thought, how can I help them? What can I do? So this is just a little tool, but this little tool basically saved my life when I was young and depressive and self-destructive. So I created this workshop, and now it seems really appropriate. And I figured since I'm a writing teacher and I need to do some writing, I could be my own student. And I invite you to join me. So the Heart to Heart Writing Workshop is very simple. It's a couple of prompts. It can be more, but I'm just going to do two today. So the first prompt, so I give the prompt, and then we have 10 minutes just to write. And then after we're done writing, then we share what we wrote. And the great thing about a little 10-minute session is nobody gets writer's block because anybody can write for 10 minutes, right? You can write for 10 minutes. It's it's easier when you have those little bite-sized chunks. And so let me give you the prompt, and then I'll read you what I wrote in response to that prompt. So the first prompt is the one where we go into the shadow, where we grapple with the shadow and go into the darkness, go into those dark feelings, those dark emotions. So the prompt is, what are you afraid of? And I'll read you what I wrote this morning in response to that prompt. Well, obviously, there's the Grim Reaper stalking our city streets and our country highways, filling people. I'm going to start over again. Well, obviously, there's the Grim Reaper stalking our city streets and country highways, felling people, sickening many, and leaving bodies in its wake. But in some ways, that threat is almost too big for my brain to absorb. Like so many people, I live in the realm of obliviousness when it comes to death. I mean, until that sucker is standing at my door with its scythe in its hand, I don't really know what to make of it. Um, so that doesn't mean I'm a fool, though. I mean, I'm not like out there tempting fate. I'm staying home, I'm staying safe. But it's not the fear of the virus that really makes me feel sick at heart. It's something else. This feeling may not even be fear. It's more like despair, like a loss of faith and a smothered rage. When I see the sheer incompetence, the rapacious venality. I love that word, venality. It's kind of like petty evil. Um, anyway, I like the connotations there. And the callous disregard for life among the so-called leaders of our country. Yeah, I'm afraid. I'm afraid for the country. I'm afraid for the world. I'm afraid that we're already living under some kind of malignant dictatorship where no bad deed gets punished, where evil becomes banal and where there's absolutely nothing that's unacceptable. To paraphrase Edward R. Murrow, at long last, is there no decency? And I kind of think maybe there isn't. So, do you need details, examples? I mean, that's what all good writers do. But do I really need to? Look at your news. Look at your news feed. It's not just every day, it's like every hour. There's something new. There's something new to be horrified by, concerned by, upset about. Yesterday, it's votercide in Wisconsin. Today, it'll be something else. The day before that, a courageous naval captain gets fired and then gets the coronavirus. So it's not just the single little events. It's the relentlessness, the relentless pace of the greed. It's the onslaught, the cascade of information, the revelation of bad news after worse news. And here we are, waiting to hear who's gone. Last night it was John Prime. Who's it going to be today? Someone you love, someone you admire, someone you know, a family member? We're all living in this suspense. As E.E. Cummings said, how do you like your blue-eyed boy, Mr. Death? And so that was my response to what are you afraid of? You know, it may wander a bit. It doesn't matter. It's a free write. And so afterwards, we usually give each other a snap. And so I'm giving myself a snap. You know, claps seem too much, so just a snap. But the thing is with these, you don't really want to stay in the darkness. You don't want to stay in the shadow. Every writer needs to go into the shadow, needs to face it, needs to deal with it. But you don't want to stay there. That's not really healthy. So the next exercise is to write a love letter. Now, this can be a love letter to yourself, to your body, to some part of your body, to a friend, to even to an enemy, right? I wrote my love letter today. Well, and I didn't really write it in the love letter format that I usually do. I just kind of wrote a Valentine to a place. It's a park. And I typed it up, so I will share that with you. Every weekday around 5, Joe and I shut down our laptops, get in the car with the 2 dogs, and drive to a nearby park. It's never crowded, this park. Social distancing is so easy. There may be a runner up on the sidewalk 50 feet away, or a couple of tennis players on the court, but otherwise the park is ours. The whole point of the walk is to give my 2 dogs some time to burn off their energy, but I do it as much for myself as for them. Once we're away from the road, I let them off leash and throw Franco's little purple tennis ball and Grendel's, he's the big black lab. I throw his bright yellow softball as far as I can. They dash off with us following down a hill into a deep green paradise, shaded by giant live oaks draped in Spanish moss. We walk over patches of thick grass, fallen leaves, and roots down to a creek, cross a wooden bridge, and follow a path. Trees and creek on one side, a green field blanketing the other. It's spring, so there's almost always a breeze. The easy delight of the dogs always makes me feel lighter. But the thing that truly acts like a balm on my soul is the smell, the rich, fecund Florida aroma of things growing and things dying. There's something so reassuring about that smell, that whole circle of life directly infusing your lungs, moving into your heart. We loop around and reach another wooden bridge where I always stop to stare down at the gorge, at the creek, tumbling over rocks, roots, and a cement-filled tire. Every time, I feel the wonder I used to feel as a child. Looks like fairies live down there, I usually say to Joe, and he agrees. Then we head back through the trees, over the green expanse of grass, dogs panting and happy. I am renewed by these walks and hopeful. Things just feel normal for a little while. I'm back. How you like that jump cut? Oh, there's the dog. Um, that's the one of them. So those were my responses to the prompts, and I encourage you to try it yourself. The first prompt is, what are you afraid of? You write 10 minutes, and hopefully you have a writing partner that you can share your responses with. And then the second one is a love letter to yourself, to a place, to anything that brings you joy, anything that brings you back into the light. Take care. Keep writing.